moving on to the process. The Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. Now, obviously, this had 2 games in the series. It's knotted at 1-1. The first game was an absolute avalanche by Philadelphia. Yeah. I mean, the talk for 48 hours was they're going to the finals, my kind of overreactiveness. Yeah. But the Heat, credit to them, came out and were phenomenal in Game 2. I think just quickly to go over Game 1, it was just a 3-ball domination. Yeah. I mean, they shot 64% from beyond the arc. They made...
Was it 17 of 28?
Yeah. That was ridiculous, their scoring from 3. And they outscored Miami in the second half, 74-43. Miami in the first half were really competitive. Yeah. They got blown out in the second half. But you had guys like Saric was 4 of 6 from 3, Redick 4 of 6, Bellinelli 4 of 7, Ilyasova 3 of 4, Covington added 2 more 3-balls. But what I wrote down after the game, I was writing some notes, and the one thing I wrote down was what happens if the 3-balls don't drop?
Yeah.
Because that was the big question, and welcome to Game 2.
Yeah.
Because the 3-balls did not drop. They shot 19%. So after shooting 64 down to 19, they were just 7 of 36. And some of their shot selection in the second quarter, especially when Miami made their run, Philly only scored 13 points in that second quarter, so one up the Cavs with their 14 against the Pacers. But their shot selection is just awful sometimes. They just force up bad shots.
They force up, like I watched most of the second half yesterday. And
Bellinelli especially.
They come off these like weird screens. They're not like... It'll be Ben Simmons or Saric. They'll set the screen, but they're not properly set.
No,
so
they're not set.
They can't get the defender out of the play as much as they normally would. Then Redick or Bellinelli will come around the screen and jack up the 3. And even Covington threw up one. I think it was in the fourth quarter that airballed. And Simmons was lucky to it just fell into Simmons' hands.
He was 1 of 9 when he took that shot, and it was a complete airball, and that was such a crucial stage of the game. It wasn't in the flow. He was just set standing there. It was such an awful shot. I mean, Saric 3 of 10, Ilyasova 0 of 2, as I mentioned, Covington 1 of 9, Redick 1 of 7, Bellinelli 2 from 8. That's all from 3 in the second game. So that's the drop-off. But on top of that, 2 things. A, how they defended Simmons, which we're going to get to. But B, turn the clock back and find the fountain of youth. Dwyane Wade, what a performance. I mean, he was incredible. 28 points on 11 of 16. And every time that so when Philly made their run, he was on the bench. He comes back in. Immediately, he stripped Saric and then got an open dunk on the fast break. He then found Johnson for another dunk and then hit the sealer over Simmons. He was phenomenal.
It was great to watch.
D-Wade, throwback
back to that, but
is it sustainable?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think he can sustain that, and he's never been a massive scorer. He's never been a 30-point a game.
Well, he was back in his heyday.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't think of Dwyane Wade and think, he's going to score 30 points throughout the playoffs.
You can't rely on that if you're the Heat.
And that's the thing. If you can't rely on that, what are you going to rely on?
Well, this is the question. I think what they are relying on is how they're defending. Because in Game 1, they were atrocious. They gave 130 points, which was a franchise record for points conceded in the playoffs. Obviously, in the second game, they only gave up 103. And the main difference was how they defended Simmons. We talked about this before the playoffs. How would the playoffs affect Simmons and how would teams game plan for him? It was really stark the way they did it, the difference. So, but in the first game, they were sagging off him. They were daring him to create. But what it did is it allowed him to see the passing angles, to see everything. He had no pressure on him, and he picked them apart. I mean, he had 14 assists, and when he has that many assists around that 15 mark, Philly's usually going to win because he's got good looks for his teammates. In the second game, it was insane. Like, they just went from giving him, 10 meters of space, they went to blitzing, double teaming, full court pressing.
They were physical with him.
They were literally did not give him a millimeter.
And it's something that you've never seen from a team defending Ben Simmons, but it's a credit to guys like James Johnson, who probably had the job in him most of the game.
And Winslow as well.
And Winslow, and even a guy like Josh Richardson, who is he's an incredible, I think he's a very underrated defensive player. and he could be a smoky for that all-defensive first team.
The other thing that happened as well is because as good as Richardson is, he doesn't quite have the size compared to Simmons. Richardson guarded him more in the first game.
Yeah.
In the second game, they really went to Johnson and Winslow, but that allowed Richardson to guard Redick and Bellinelli, and they just got nothing.
No.
I mean, Bellinelli and Redick in particular got completely shut down, and he was looking frustrated just by Richardson's tenacity. A few times he blocked their shot as well.
I think what Brett Brown will do and what he'll say to Ben Simmons in the lead up to Game 3 is that I think what I saw of the game when Ben was at his best was when he got the ball and just made a beeline for the ring.
Just went for it.
Because who's going to defend him when he gets there?
Yeah.
Like, when Hassan was on the court, he wasn't even getting up to his shot. Like,
we're going to get to Hassan later.
Olynyk's not going to defend that shot. So, if he just moves the ball quickly and gets the pace up, Miami aren't going to be able to get themselves set and get their defensive structures set and just to be able to shut Simmons down. But
I think it was a really good strategy because they made him a scorer, not a facilitator. Yeah. And if you he scored 24 points in the second game compared to his 17 the first, but his impact was nowhere near as damaging on the team effect when you allow him to be a distributor, because when he's a distributor, they look unstoppable. When you make him a scorer, it's all right. You can deal with 24 points from Simmons as long as he doesn't have 15 assists and controls their offense. Moving on to another big talking point out of that game, which is Hassan Whiteside. This is a guy on a max contract.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in our keys and locks before the playoffs about how he would impact this series. Well, so far he's impacted it from the bench. I mean, he had 12 minutes in Game 1, 15 in Game 2. Over the entire 27 minutes he's played over the first two games, he's had 6 points. Like 6 points and like 10 boards, I think. I mean,
Jesus.
He's literally been, and not just that, of those 27 minutes, like I barely even noticed him. I literally only noticed him when he was on the bench and they cut to them and they were clapping. Like that's the main time I noticed him. He's been completely cut from that rotation. Now, I do think a lot of it is a reaction to what Philly's doing in terms of they were going more with Ilyasova at the 5 to try space it out. But even you got to bully Ilyasova. I mean, in the first quarter of Game 2, they were matched up together. Ilyasova had 6 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
How do you allow him to get one Whiteside? One.
The one thing I will say to that, Ilyasova is one of the best hustle players.
I know,
in the
but
league.
Come on, Whiteside. Like that's
for
pathetic.
a guy who is touted as a really good rebounder and a really good defender. Like
it's a joke.
It's not Hassan Whiteside what we're seeing in this playoffs.
Well, this is not the guy they paid the max money to. I mean, he's been so disappointing. But the interesting thing is, if Embiid comes back,
that's what I was going to say.
Does his minutes come back?
You'd have to say so because Olynyk.
They're not going to be able to defend.
Olynyk isn't going to go guard Embiid, and I think Embiid's the trump card for Philly. I think when he's back,
this is not the real Philly.
Yeah.
Like it's when Embiid gets back, and he's the circuit breaker for them in terms of because Philly looked really stagnant in the half court. We talked about like it's just a whole bunch of screens trying to get a terrible 3. Whether when you've got Embiid, it changes everything. But yeah, I mean. They're going to need Whiteside to defend Embiid. But at the same time, I don't think Whiteside can turn it into the Embiid versus Whiteside show like he's had the tendency to do over the years. It's got to still be the Miami show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think surely they've got to play him if Embiid plays in terms of he's got to get more minutes because they're not going to be able to defend him otherwise.
Yeah, there's no hope for Miami. If Embiid's playing and Whiteside's only playing 15 minutes a game, there's no way Miami.
And on
win
top
this
of
series.
that, in saying all that, Embiid's record this year against the Heat is quite good. He's been pretty good. So it's not like Whiteside's going to be better than Olynyk, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to stop him. That's for sure. But yeah, I think there's still some huge question marks with that. And I think this is probably the first adversity and test for Simmons. I mean, he didn't get tested in March Madness, obviously, because he wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Then he missed all his rookie year. He's exceeded all expectations this year. There hasn't been pressure on him to perform because he's been better than we thought he was going to be. This is the first time where there's been some pressure on him. I think it's going to be...
Well, and the thing is, like, I don't think anyone's really made a big deal out of the fact that he's almost had 2 triple-doubles in his first 2 playoff games. And that's something that you just don't see.
Yeah.
And I think it would be something we see more with guys coming through because triple-doubles are just becoming a thing now. But for Simmons to just come in and just dominate like he has, and he had 24, 8, and 9 in game 2.
We expect so much,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's one of the most incredible rookies we've had. So, but yeah, I think there is some pressure on him, but I think Philly will respond. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the Heat are going to get another fountain of youth performance out of
No
D
way.
Wade.